Hi, I'm James, and today we are going to be cooking a Margherita pizza. So to start with, I'll do the base, which is really simple, but it's quite a long process. So you've got your strong bread flour here, some tepid water, so it's around sort of 26 degrees, some dried yeast and some salt. If you can only get fresh yeast, you just have to times it by 3 to get the amount that you need. So we'll start first by adding nearly all of the water to our flour, and then we'll just save back roughly only about 50 mils, and we'll come to that later on. So start with a spoon and just mix this in. What I've done, if you've got some, it's a nice addition to add a little bit of wholemeal flour. So the recipe calls for 500 grams of bread flour, and I've just swapped out about 15 grams, so about a tablespoon for 15 grams of wholemeal. And it just gives the dough a little bit more flavour, slightly different texture, but it's totally up to you. But I prefer to have a little bit of wholemeal in there. That's if you've got some. Obviously, if you can't get hold of bread flour, plain flour will do. I know that in lockdowns there was a huge problem in buying it, but bread flour is pretty available now. But if you have got just plain flour, that is okay to use. So once we've sort of brought it together, just with a spoon, then we can get our hands in there and get a little bit mucky. And bring it together to form a dough. Quite, I suppose, in texture, it'll be similar to a soft Play-Doh, a very warm Play-Doh perhaps. Just move it around the bowl until the sides of the bowls are clean, like so. And then now, before we add anything else to it, most recipes will say add your yeast, add your salt, add everything. We definitely don't want to add our salt now. We're just going to cling from this oven. So our dough's had 20 minutes to rest, and as you can see, it's really stretchy now, really pliable. If you leave it longer, it will get more and more stretchy, and you'll get like a window pane effect. So what we do now, with the rest of our water, add our dried yeast to it, give it a little mix around, and then pour it into our dough. And then we'll add our salt as well. And we're just going to stretch and fold this in. So sort of lift and tuck it over until all that water has been absorbed. And the yeast and the salt sort of evenly dispersed throughout the mix. Get both hands in now. And at this stage, we can add just a little splash of olive oil, which will just help handling it later on when we need to stretch it. So only a touch, just to help it from sticking to the bowl and also sticking to your fingers when you come back to it later on. So this just needs to sit out at room temperature for 20 minutes, and then we'll just repeat that same process. So just lift and tuck 3 to 4 times, just tucking it back under the dough to create a nice ball, a nice soft dough in the middle. And we'll just keep doubling up inside. So I'm going to pop this to one side. While it's proving, we'll make a start on our tomato sauce. Right, so while our bread dough just relaxes over there, slice this up really finely. If you look down the onion, you've got lots of lines that all run one way. So slice all the way across there, being really careful. Keep your thumb behind your fingers, not to cut them. Like that, and then all we do is come across the other way. Again, be really careful with your fingers. Nice sharp knife. Sharp knives are a lot safer than blunt knives. You don't slip and cut yourself then. And then we're just going to, as thinly as we can, nice and slow and steady, slice down the onion into nice little chunks. And then with the garlic, as much as you like. I've got 2 cloves here. Me and my family, my children love garlic, so 2 cloves will be great, maybe 3, but if you don't like it, don't put any in, it's not necessary. What we're going to do, add this to our pan with a splash of either olive oil or rapeseed oil and just gently cook it on sort of medium heat, so around 2-3 on your hob. Really gently, no colour, and just slowly sweat the onions down. Right, so our onions are nice and soft now. We're just going to add a really, really good tablespoon of tomato puree. This will help thicken the sauce up, make it lovely and rich. We're just going to cook it out first before adding anything to it. So just roast this off in the pan for a couple of minutes. Just be careful that it doesn't catch too much. And then we'll add our passata or tin tomatoes, whatever you're using. We won't season it now, so we're just going to let this gently tick over for about 20 minutes so it's nice and thick, and we'll take a look at our dough while it continues to cook. So our dough's had about 20 minutes now, it's looking nice and puffy, and while we're waiting I've just taken off our tomato paste, which I'll leave to cool down for later on. So at this stage it's just stretching and folding. You can use a little bit of oil on your hands if you're worried about being a bit sticky, just any oil is fine. And you just lift it up and tuck it under, lift it up and tuck it under. Just 4 times, and all you're doing at this stage is just strengthening the dough, and you'll see it just gets more puffy, it's just got a bit more firm structure. So I'm just going to cling film this over, pop it back where it was, 20 more minutes, give it another stretch and fold, and then we'll be ready to put together our pizza. Right, so our dough has had its second stretch. And then what I've done is I've just taken out a quarter of it to make a pizza, and the rest I'll just freeze down in. So I'll cut it into 4 and then cling film it up, pop it in the freezer, and then you can keep it in there for up to 3 months, and you've just got some pizza dough to pull out for a quick dinner. We'll do the same with this as well. So this is nice and cool now, lovely and thick, beautiful tomato sauce, and we'll use what we need, and then we can freeze the rest in little ice cube trays or little Tupperware pots. And the other thing I've done is just pop the oven up on full blast, so as high as your oven goes. This one goes to 220, probably won't actually get there, so it'll be more about 200. You'll see now the dough is really pliable. So there's a few ways we can do this. You can stretch it like I was just doing with my hands then, so get some flour on your hands, and this is something fun to do with your children. You can just move it around, or with a rolling pin, we can roll it out. I'm doing today just mozzarella, tomato, and a little bit of basil. We pop it on, put it back over here, and you'll see it will have it will start as it gets warm. The dough will get loads and loads of little air pockets, which is obviously what you want. So it'll be lovely and crispy, and you'll have them nice holes around the edge. And then all we need to do is take our paste. And obviously we don't want to go right to the edge, we want to leave about 1 centimetre open, so it'll puff up and we'll get that nice rim all the way around our pizza. So this paste will stop the middle of the pizza rising, and then obviously round the edge it will puff up. And then just put some tomatoes on first, but just a few of these. And then choose a half a ball of mozzarella. We can use another half with another recipe. So just tear that on. A little bit of pepper. A little touch of salt. And then we can just pop some of our basil leaves on top. And then we'll just finish it with a touch of oil. And then just bake that in the oven for about 15 minutes or so, just until it's really lovely and crispy and the cheese is beginning to melt. So the pizza's had around 15 minutes in the oven. Because it's on so high, obviously it doesn't take very long at all to cook. You're just looking for a nice crispy edge. Really, really tasty. You've got another 3 pizzas worth of dough and of tomato paste, and just have some fun making some different recipes with it, different toppings. But that's it, that's a basic tomato and mozzarella pizza.